Well, hey everyone,
I,
welcome
I
to
wore this
another
to a
live.
I wore this to a hands-off demonstration, and as I started walking in, half the people thought I was a MAGA guy coming in to like disrupt it. But then as soon as they saw it, they went like, "That's a cool idea. We should all be wearing red hats." I'm convinced that if everybody out there at all these demonstrations was wearing a red hat, it would just confuse the hell out of Trump and the MAGA folks, man. We got
I
to
think
take the
it's the
color red
beard.
away from them. They don't own it anyway. So, hey, what's going on with you these days?
Yeah.
Or what do you
Well,
want to
I
talk
was
about?
I was trying to welcome everyone, and then you just went on the red thing. So
Oh, okay.
we got a bunch more questions. We're going to try to do this most Fridays. We're still kind of figuring out some of the tech, but I think we actually figured it out this week in a reasonable amount of time. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Joe, we got several more questions actually, even since we published the latest pod, which everyone should go listen to. That Trippy Show, wherever you get your podcasts. You can always send us questions both in these chats, thattrippyshow@gmail.com. I even pulled one off of the Apple reviews, which I hadn't done in a while, but that's what happens when I have time on my hands. So, Trippy, first question.
Yeah.
This is from Miriam in Maine. Everyone's saying we're sliding into authoritarianism, but aren't we there already? Like, what's the difference
Yes.
between an authoritarian somewhere else and Trump? Isn't it important to call out and play the game we're in, as Trigby Olson says? I wonder if Trigby wrote this question, but I think it's from Miriam in Maine.
It also could have been Anat wrote it,
Yeah.
so that one more time we could say she's right. We need to call this stuff out. This is a authoritarian bully uh, attempt to take out the country, and on behalf of billionaires. I mean, we need to start calling it exactly what it is. And I keep saying not to wait for too many electeds to do that because, well, particularly on the right, they're not going to. But I think you're starting to see it. I think we're starting to gain our voice with people out there at the rallies. Um, and being disruptive, which is what I think we need. And I think it's why people are like so confused about like Schumer and like when is somebody going to step out in leadership? But uh, I keep saying, don't wait for it. Get out there, encourage people, and support everybody from Liz Cheney over to Bernie Sanders, who are speaking out, and are across the spectrum of that coalition is pretty amazing. You just get more people out there.
All right. Well, this is a related one, and I can't see who this is from, so apologies in advance. I've been organizing locally since 2016, but it feels like we're not showing up like we did in 17, even though the stakes are much, much higher. Am I wrong? Is there a big opposition movement I'm just not seeing? Joe, I think this gets to what you were just saying, but I want your take.
Well, I think we have to be more visible. It's part of my red hat thing. Get visible out there. Don't let we need to get to a place where that a red hat doesn't mean what it's meant since he's come down the escalator. And if everybody was doing that and being visible, we've got 3 million people now who've been going to the hands-off rallies. I've been to a few in front of the NOAA weather station. When I was down in Florida, uh, it it matters that we get loud and that we get this. As I've said many times, this is not the time to play dead. We need to get loud and we need to grow. And I really believe the more people who are out there in peaceful protest, the more the elected officials out there, including those in the Senate on the Republican side, will start to develop more fear of us than they do of the MAGA base of their party. And what I think that's going to take, and we talked about this on the podcast. I think it's going to take 12 million people, 15 million people out there actively, peacefully demonstrating against this regime. And I think we're at 3 million on average now. And the most important thing to do is to get one more person out there with you, one more friend, one more coworker, and double yourself. Make it 6 million over the next month or two. And then let's get to 12 million within the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months. And I think then, and that's the most important thing anybody can do is help build the movement, get visible.
So let's zoom back to some of our friends in the democratic institutions, because that's honestly where we get most of our questions. And we've tried hard, I think, the last couple months to not just kind of shake our fists at inaction and say, oh well, if I were doing this, I would recommend X. But Joe, they want to hear what you have to say. Uh, let's do this. It scares me that we're talking about Medicaid cuts again, especially with Republicans now openly saying some people, quote, need to get off of it, unquote. Can Dems make this breakthrough, or will they just be labeled big government like usual?
No, look, there's no way that they can do the cuts that they're talking about doing without not just the American people, but their own supporters feeling that pain. Um, I think it's important to call it out now. It's not about saying "I told you so" later. It's about warning. This is the point. We are in this. We've become a binary society. Human beings are actually, we're pretty complex. We have senses. You walk into somebody on the street that and you don't necessarily have to agree on everything, but it's not a binary thing. It's not what social networks have, turned us into, like or dislike, follow or unfollow, red or blue. So what's happened is we've become this binary pole. Everything is black or white, period. It's only
Hmm.
two choices. There's only two versions of anything. That's bullshit. It's more complicated than that. That's why we have to start talking to old friends that we stopped talking to when he came down the because we couldn't, couldn't continents that they were for him. They're starting to lose. Um, he's starting to lose uh, support. There are a lot of non-MAGA Republicans now and MAGA Republicans who are starting to really get hurt by this, and they will be hurt by all that he's done. So it's more important now to start the conversation, to talk to them, to ask, and not to do, "Hey, I told you, you idiot." That's not how it's going to work. The best thing is, "Hey, I'm really concerned about what's going on with Medicaid. Are you?" Because we got to work together. We've got to stop. This is a place where we could find some common ground and work against a policy that we're all going to get hurt by, or that people who can least afford to be hurt are going to be hurt. And I think that's the other thing. When you get to the binary thing and the tribal thing, empathy goes out the window on all sides. And so I think on Medicaid in particular, it's to appeal to the empathy that's actually in a human being, and not the they're the enemy stuff. So I
Well,
think, no,
and
it's before this happens. Now's the time to have the conversation. And it's like I said before, now's not the time to go, "Oh my gosh, Liz Cheney, I I can't stomach her being part of our coalition because of what Dick Cheney did." Forget all that stuff. It's more complicated than that. And the one thing that's not complicated is to throw out the authoritarian regime and take it on. She's with us. The same with Bernie Sanders. All the so it's everything in between. We have to engage, and we have to go to places that we haven't been talking to, friends that we haven't had conversations with in years, and that we don't call friends anymore, and start to have that conversation so that when these cuts come, when the cargo ships aren't there and the shelves
which
are empty,
which
it's
is
not
coming.
telling them "we told you so."
Well, That's actually that was you basically paraphrased another one of our listener questions. That was from, I believe, Sean in Massachusetts, but you basically just answered that. I do think, and this is something that, and again, Trigvy's catching a lot of strays on this show today, but our friend Trigvy at Lincoln Democracy Institute has done extensive research on this. And one of the things that every time anyone ever presents this to basically a group of Democrats, one of the really interesting things that they all say, wait, really? I don't understand that, is generally speaking, the scores for like empathy and community among like MAGA leaning and MAGA Republicans are actually quite high and oftentimes higher than among the same type of group of Democrats. And it's less about, and I think it's easy for Democrats to say, oh, that doesn't make any sense at all. We're the ones who want to keep Medicare or Medicaid. But then you start thinking about it, it's like trust in your own communities. And I think that's a very key point for how we need to be communicating this. It's not, hey, we're cutting or they're cutting $500 billion off of Medicaid. It's, this is a story of someone who could be your neighbor. This is a story of
Oh,
their
it could be
care
you.
that might be at stake. It could be you. And that is a much more personal way to connect than basically. It also occurred to me that whenever we say, I mean, the typical thing is to put an ad up that says $500 billion in cuts with, dripping down the screen.
Right.
But really, that basically frames us as being on the side of the big government status quo that the listener, the viewer already knows isn't working. So it's almost like, how do we flip that and say, okay, there is a need for change, but we need to fund it more and we need to fix it rather than just cutting it and putting your grandma at
No, I think
risk.
there's a huge opportunity here in the destruction that Trump is and his minions have done in destroying whole departments and cutting NIH, all this stuff. It's
Snap.
yeah, but all of it is it. Look, it's happened. He is, he is destroying, not fixing, not repairing, not reforming, not reinventing anything.
Destroying.
They're
Yep.
very good at destruction and destroying, and they're going to destroy Medicaid. They're going to go after it. They're going to destroy. They're destroying our economy as we speak. And there's a big opportunity here to, in the rebuilding of America, the renewal of America, being the people who, yes, acknowledge that there were things that needed to be fixed. They didn't need to be destroyed. In their destruction, we have to be the people who reinvent, reform. I mean, there's no reason to build now the Department of Education back exactly the way it was is not the goal. It's now the opportunity is to raise it from the ashes in a way that will better serve the children and education in this country, and maybe redirect some of that building of the department locally. In other words, where it,
Right.
so I just think like we have a real opportunity here, but to take this back, part of the problem is you walk in to just as you see a red hat and go, oh my God, I'm not talking. I don't even want to hear it. Right. I mean, the red hat, forget what resist and refuse, whatever it says. I mean, hell, Cincinnati Reds hat, if I had that on today and people would be looking without really looking, going like, what the, my point is, it works the other way. They see, um, your blue hat or, you blue this, whatever, and they ain't listening. They're the Democratic Party this, they're not going to listen to it. So one of the things I think we have to do is blur the frickin' lines. That this is a part of their uniform. Take it from them. They don't know red, and that's what I'm saying. I think that we have to help get people. We have to like change that binary red blue, black and white. Um,
Well, and there
uh,
there aren't just two
the
choices, right? That's the kind of what you're getting. But it's like it's
Well,
not
no, but
just
I'm
either.
talking about social networks do that. See, if you think about it, we actually, when we were interacting in person with people, you're getting many more cues than like, dislike, follow, unfollow. What's happened? It was way before he came down an escalator. We've given up kind of like our humanity. We've lost the humanity, the empathy, all that, because we've now been trained. We're like gerbils on a treadmill, trained to view everything as binary, as not our whole senses, not all of everything, our reasoning, all that working. No, no, it's simple, fast. You're either a red team or blue team. I either like you, I dislike you. I either want to repost or I don't want to repost. Everything is binary, quick, simple, bam. Which is why build that wall. Um, Mexico will pay for it. Becomes a very quick, either for or against that, and it's it, that's not the way we as human I mean, this is sort of again why it's not just the rhetoric, it's not just the messaging, it's fighting back the binary choices that the media, and by the way, not just the social networks but the media, then everything is red versus blue. Trump, it's like the Pope, because I think that was one of the questions we had. The Pope, what's your quick take on the Pope? Gosh, what is it? Uh, he went from being a MAGA Pope to a Lincoln Project Pope within like what 30 minutes in terms of the
Yeah, because
reaction.
people were doing their own research. Well,
Well,
he was at a White Sox game. I think he's the first Pope to go to a World Series. That's kind of cool, right?
yeah, but my point is, he's the Pope. He's not red or blue. He's going to be. I'm sure there's things like his position on his pro-life position, I assume, is not something I would agree with. On the other hand, his position on immigration may be something that no self-avowed Trump MAGA supporter would agree with. Okay, so that's my point. It's not red or blue. It's not. It's more. It's that's us and the media and the social networks and all of us falling into this, like, throw everything else out. This is either it's actually it's the digital thing. It's either ones or zeros. You can't that's how and that's what's taken over. That's what helped create the polarization and continues to do it. And so I'm saying we need to get 12, 15 million people out who break out of that and say, no, you don't own the color red, and we're going to resist and refuse what's going on, and we want it, and we're going to be peaceful about it, and you can come join us because Medicaid is going to be under attack, and we need people like you who care about the children who are going to be face the cuts, and the seniors in your community that are going to face the cuts because they're going to be the most hurt. You can join us and fight this and invite them to come to us. I mean, I think we have to turn that way, um, in order to stop him dead in his tracks, in order to make enough senators and others out there to buttress the courts too. These institutions are only as strong as the support of the people rising up to hold them up. And so if they don't see anybody out there, they're going to fall to Trump. And we already see that with what the Supreme Court's doing and other things. And of course, every
Man,
Republican in the Senate.
I was so excited to make the binary debate is deep dish versus thin crust for communion wafers, but you took that much more sincerely than I was going to go with it. But my vote is thin crust, deep dishes for tourists. But Joe, we've actually run through all of our questions today, so I don't know if you got anything other than that kind of impassioned plea to close us out with. But otherwise, we'll be back same time, same place next week,
If not before.
probably before.
Yes,
I don't know.
yes. You can
Yeah,
go live
well,
anytime.
yeah. I'm at the point where my schedule is no longer my own either. So I'm living your life, my friend.
No, everybody have a good Friday and a great weekend, and we will be back next week. Check out that Trippi show. Check out everything on Lincoln Square. And if you get a chance, run over to Trippi's Take on Substack as well. Alex and I are going to start posting over there too. So thank you all for joining us.
All right, guys. See ya.